best stories.
What are stories of the best things going on right now?
The best stories are authentic.
They are relevant.
Thought-provoking.
Emotional is probably the first
The best
one for me.
stories are humorous.
Shareable.
They
I think
are
emotional.
entertaining.
They're unique.
I would
And
say
relevant.
inspiring,
Honest.
real
colorful,
stories that are for today.
and
Just
they're
take-
emotional.
Those are some of the best stories.
Hello and welcome into Storyteller at SiriusXM Studio from the Wynn Las Vegas. I'm Sky Muller, joined in the booth by our great crew running the cameras and the audio, and then out in the lobby we have our always reliable Seth Gillitzer running all the graphics. He's a little distracted out there. He's got people all around him, but he's still powering everything you see behind us, everything you see in front of us on the screen. But now for the star of the show, a creative genius, an expert in content creation, product ecosystem manager for Creative Cloud Video at Adobe, Eliza Tan. Welcome to Storyteller.
Hey, Sky, thank you for having me.
Thank you for the wonderful headshot as well. What do you think of seeing the headshot in like a 40-foot monitor?
I'm glad it's not too pixelated.
Yeah, that's a true Adobe way to look at it, right? Not too pixelated. Well, we like to start by giving some context to our audience of who we're chatting with, who our storyteller is today. So give us a little bit of your story, kind of leading up into your current role at Adobe.
Yeah, like Sky, we were chatting a little bit earlier as well. And I think we were both talking about how, we like the even cultures at our companies, right? And I've been really grateful that Adobe is a company with a great culture as well. But what kind of led me up to it is I've definitely always been pretty creative all my life. My family, I grew up in Southeast Asia, was kind of, encouraging me to go more of the math, computer science field. But I was a rebel. I liked making movies from a really young age.
Yes.
That got me into Adobe software, for both photography, for video. And that's what I ended up studying as well. So like TV, broadcast is very much my background. And that was just a really natural fit for Adobe. And now being, a product ecosystem manager for the video applications for Creative Cloud, it's just been wonderful to still be able to see, the direct relevance between my background and the global perspective that has brought me, and see meaning in my work today.
Oh, that's so fun. Were you in the early stages when, and I love to all the parents always want everyone to go math, my parents, I went the broadcast route as well. We both chose the creative route, but were you kind of self-taught in the early days on when you were using Adobe then before you went and studied and everything?
100%.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. It was kind of my escape, really. That's when I started, I picked up my dad's Sony Handycam and started making movies with my family, with my friends, and that's when I started getting into I thought I wanted to be a director, a producer, but then what I really fell in love with was editing and the process of editing. And I just remember so many late nights as a kid, as a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, just learning, non-linear editing software, what it meant to, have a separate audio and video track and just sound effects and all of that. And that was my space, my safe space to experiment, to get to know myself. And I feel so privileged right now to be, working on a product that's one of the industry leading editors in the world. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. And it's you're, some people do yoga and that's their thing. Was editing almost that way for you, or it's it was kind of just almost relaxing to and therapeutic to it?
Oh yeah, almost too much so, to the point where it was almost toxic. I'll tell you a little story. So in college, I was in a car accident my sophomore year.
Oh my gosh.
Had a minor concussion, and what the nurse told me was, do not look at screens. Skip your classes, don't look at screens. And I was like, great, I have a whole week off of classes. I'm gonna go edit. So I spent that entire week just in Premiere editing, exactly, looking at a screen. But I was so happy because I had all that time off to work on my video that play later on that week. But yeah, it's definitely been very much an escape for me.
Oh, that's so fun. I love that story, by the way. That's good. It's hey, no class, but it's going to look at the screen still. Now, product ecosystem manager for Creative Cloud Video. It's a lot there, right? And so let's say it's career day at an elementary school and you're going to go present to the class. How would you explain your role, your day-to-day to, group of fifth graders?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And yeah, product ecosystem manager for Creative Cloud Video, too many syllables.
There's a lot there.
It's a lot there. Yeah, and it's
but all important words too.
Right. But it doesn't mean much unless people actually see, like, and that's something that I've really appreciated about my team and about the folks I work with as well. It's not so much about even like the high level idea of what we're trying to achieve. It's about the customer. It's about the data driven decisions. And at the end of the day, when it comes to like the video ecosystem, how we really contextualize that is with the customer workflows that are being completed by Adobe through Adobe software and our partners' applications, right? It's a partnership. And that's where, the relationship with Tagboard comes in and makes so much sense because Premiere is used in so many different contexts, in broadcast, news, brand, pro-social, narrative, documentary, so many use cases, right? But we can't do it without our partners. So that's really what the video ecosystem is about, and what my role means.
I love that. Just bringing everyone together, right? Like if
Exactly.
you think of an ecosystem in a nature standpoint, it's everything working together, and if one thing kind of falls out of line, it all
falls apart.
falls apart. Yeah,
There's no life.
that's it. That's what that helps me put it all together as well. So I love those analogies. Well, I want to get into what we call our next gen leaders and really understand like what are the big needs that at Adobe you're seeing, you're hearing from brands, broadcasters, and creatives out there that you're talking to.
Yeah, so many, so many. It's
Yeah,
like,
everyone's got them.
right. Like, how do we
one?
prioritize? But I think, what really comes top of mind is, the need to automate a lot of manual processes, just so much content. How do we find it easier? How do we, get it out to the world faster? And that's where really the ecosystem is so valuable, right? And for Adobe, what's really top of mind right now is, how even AI has a role to play in like automating in a lot of these manual processes. So how do we enhance collaboration? How do we automate manual tasks? How do we really give back time to the creative to do real creative things is definitely themes that Adobe is very much committed to and committed to innovating in this area.
I have to imagine that your passion with like the editing and creative, it's got to play so nicely into understanding what some of those needs are, because you're in it yourself, right? It's like you've been on the creative side, you're still on the creator side, but it's got to be so helpful in your role to kind of have that viewpoint and that.
100%. It helps a lot with customer empathy. And yeah, I do still edit. I do photography on the side, but I'm also surrounded by people who do that. I'll tell you a short story as well. My dad actually, during the pandemic, started making TikTok videos.
Yes, there we go. I love that.
And then in like 2 months, it skyrocketed to like 73K followers. Just this middle-aged, Malaysian
Let's
dude.
go.
Just making like, videos. He's a life coach and consultant and just makes videos that he wants to make, and now I can like, even in conversations with my own family, be like inserting insights, from my work and like hearing their pain points, hearing the pain points of my friends and just like seamlessly putting it all together to tell that whole end-to-end narrative. Feel very privileged for sure.
Oh, that is so cool. What's your dad's TikTok, by the way? We got to get some like viewership out there.
It's at Good Monday Consulting.
There we go. That's good. At Good Monday Consulting. I'm going to have to check that out. So what role, you mentioned AI a little bit, what role is AI playing in maybe future strategies that you're seeing with, broadcasters out there?
Yeah. I think AI has the potential to change so much when it comes to workflows, right? It's hard to pinpoint like exact areas. It's going to really change the entire like end-to-end workflow process. And we're in what is like, the .com boom, it's going to change everything. But what I'm really excited about is seeing, how AI is going to revolutionize workflows from, pre-production all the way to content distribution, right? How do you create content, get it, in your timeline easier and faster and then out? How do you find, content, broadcasters? Obviously, that's a huge pain point, metadata, all of that. And speaking of metadata, one thing that I really do appreciate about Adobe, having also a journalism background myself, is its commitment to content authenticity. Right, Adobe co-founded the Content Authenticity Initiative, also known as the CAI, back in 2019. Now more than 2,000 partners have joined, including BBC, Google, Microsoft, and they're really just committed to having, like showcasing really on images and video as well, like what was AI generated.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's almost like a nutrition label if you think
Yeah.
about it. You know, you turn a bottle around and you're like, okay, this is like 12% sugar. Maybe I'll put this down. Or this is a picture of, you know, a well-known politician. Should I believe it? Should I not? Right? And Adobe's been like well ahead of the game, trying to, you know, really committed to authenticity there, and also giving credit back to artists when it comes to products like Adobe Firefly, that's, you know, trained on licensed, you know, stuff from Adobe stock. You know, it's still at the end of the day commitment to the creator, to the artist, and to, you know, content provenance.
I think that's so impactful, and it's so necessary. Was whenever you hear conversations around kind of generative AI, it's you know, there's a lot of gray area of like what's licensed, what's not licensed, and so it's so cool to hear that Adobe is like taking that extra step and like making sure that like anything there is authenticated. It's, you know, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much fear
Yeah.
involved, right, with change, so much discomfort. So yeah, this definitely gives that peace of mind that enables even accelerated innovation.
I also love that it's enabled lesser talented editors and stuff to all of a sudden become pretty savvy.
Right.
That's
right.
hand up myself. It's you know, we have a very super talented creative designer at Tagboard who designs some of these, and
Great graphics.
but now when I can just, you know, kind of, you know, put a square more, I know we're on the video side, but just on like the Photoshop side, to be able to remove stuff super easily without having to be a perfect at masking, or be able to add, you know, new layers. It's just like game changing stuff.
Right, and 100%, right? It makes the process of professional video editing more accessible.
Yeah.
And when it comes to AI, you know, oftentimes our mind goes to generative AI, but, you know, there's assistive AI, right?
Yeah.
Being a co-pilot. There's features like text-based editing in Premiere that like automatically, you know, there's speech to text. It will transcribe like your video immediately. And I used to take 1 to 2 hours maybe going through like an unscripted interview. Now it's 10 minutes. You know, it cuts it down so quickly, right? So all of that, really, I'm super excited to see more of that come out. Yeah.
As a former journalist myself, you mentioned you're a journalist as well. The transcribing after an interview is always just like you spend hours doing it on if it's a full long interview, and to be able to just like have that assistant now in AI is the workflows are, it's just like hours of time.
Right. It actually, like it's allowed me to feel like more human in a way, you know? And sometimes I feel like the fear around AI is like, you know, where is our, what does this mean for humanity? So it's kind of like ironic in that sense, but I love it because like, I think to be human is to be creative, and to have, you know, that done for me allows me to actually like concentrate on the content of my interview, right? And you've been a journalist, you know that things need to happen super quickly and needs to get out to the world super quickly as well. How do we shorten that process? So that just really helps us, you know, focus on the story and getting the impactful story out there to the world.
That aligns so nicely with like how we like to speak on the Tagboard side of like, we like to let technology do the heavy lifting so that creators can spend more time creating and being creative, or producers can spend more time being creative, because these days it's everyone's working so hard, and it's just like they need to buy back time to unlock some opportunity to be creativity. Because as a creator, you know, like the worst thing would be is not having like time to just sit and like get creative and brainstorm, right, and think. And so that stuff's so important.
Right. It's kind of like writer's block.
Yeah,
right?
it
When
is.
You stare
Yeah.
at a blank page, or like a blank canvas even, and maybe AI is the thing that kind of generates the first like content ideation.
Just help me get started.
Help me get started so my creative juices can get flowing.
Oh, I love that. Where do you see, you know, Adobe and Tagboard already working together? Where do you see maybe some future ways that we can put the, you know, cloud technologies together when it comes to efficiencies and workflows?
Yeah. Again, it's all about the customer, right? Like they kind of chart that path for us. And, you know, there's so many major broadcasters and so many customers that are utilizing both Adobe and Tagboard technologies, that there's so many ways to continue working together in this new era of AI. It's really exciting. And I'm super excited to keep, you know, this partnership going.
Absolutely. It's an amazing partnership. Y'all are the absolute best, and we're so fortunate we get to work with y'all. And Eliza Tan, thank you so much for jumping on Storyteller today and sharing your story, sharing the Adobe story. And I just can't wait to see. I mean, every day it's just like hit after hit coming out, and you lead a lot of the webinars and stuff, and so everyone should check those out as well.
Thanks, Sky. I loved this conversation. It was fun.
Likewise. Take care, everyone.